Imagine it's a Monday morning, 20 years from today. You wake up, but there's no alarm clock. The house is silent. You walk to the kitchen, pour a cup of coffee, and look out the window. For decades, you were told this moment would be the reward, the golden age, the finish line after 40 years of hard work. But then you look at your phone, you open your banking app, and suddenly your heart drops. The number staring back at you isn't a fortune, it's a countdown. The countdown to the day you run out of money. The day you might have to sell your house. The day you might have to ask your children for help. Or worse, the day you have to go back to work. Most people think retirement is just a math problem. They believe if they save enough money, everything will work out. But the truth is much darker than that. Today we're looking at the real numbers behind retirement in America. The savings people actually have in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And what those numbers reveal isn't just a financial gap. It's a national crisis hiding in plain sight. Welcome to the retirement trap. Meet David. David is 45 years old. He has a decent job, a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, and 2 kids starting to think about college. To his neighbors, David looks like the definition of success. But David has a secret. Every time he sees an article about the recommended retirement savings, he feels a heavy pressure in his chest. Because David knows something most people don't talk about. He only has about $40,000 in his retirement account. He tells himself it's a good start. He tells himself he still has time. But deep down, he knows the truth. David is living inside something psychologists call optimism bias. It's the belief that somehow the future will magically work out. But when we look at the data, that belief starts to fall apart. The median retirement balance for Americans in their 40s is just under $40,000. That means half of the country has even less. Now compare that to what financial experts recommend. Most experts say that by your 40s, you should have at least 3 times your annual salary saved for retirement. If someone earns $70,000 a year, that means they should have over $200,000 saved. For David, that gap isn't small. It's a canyon. And millions of Americans are standing at the same edge. This didn't happen because people suddenly became irresponsible. The system itself changed. For decades, workers relied on pensions. A pension meant you worked for a company, and when you retired, the company paid you a guaranteed check for the rest of your life. But those pensions slowly disappeared. They were replaced by something else. The 401k. Instead of companies managing retirement, the responsibility was handed to individuals. Suddenly, everyone had to become their own financial planner. But nobody gave them the training. It's like being handed the controls of an airplane without ever learning how to fly. Now imagine reaching 30,000 feet and realizing the fuel gauge is almost empty. That's the reality millions of people are facing today. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you might already feel something economists call the squeeze. You're earning more than ever before, but somehow the money disappears. Mortgage payments, car loans, groceries, insurance, subscriptions, kids' activities. Life becomes expensive. But there's also a deeper reason people struggle to save. Our brains are wired to value the present more than the future. Psychologists call this hyperbolic discounting. In simple terms, your brain would rather enjoy $100 today than receive $1,000 30 years from now. Your future self feels like a stranger, and people rarely sacrifice for strangers. This is why retirement saving is so difficult. Because the person you're trying to help is someone you can't see yet. When we look at Americans in their 50s, the situation becomes even more serious. The median retirement savings for people aged 45 to 54 is about $67,000. By the time people reach their early 60s, it rises to roughly $95,000. Think about that for a moment. $95,000. In a world where healthcare costs alone can exceed $300,000 during retirement. That isn't a retirement plan. It's a temporary shield against a financial storm. But here's where the statistics become misleading. Average retirement savings, which can be over $200,000. But averages can be deceptive. If 10 people sit in a room and one of them is a billionaire, the average wealth of the room suddenly looks enormous. But 9 of those people are still struggling. That's why the median number matters. Because it shows the reality of the middle class. And that reality is uncomfortable. Millions of people are walking a financial tightrope with no safety net. This isn't just about numbers. It's about dignity. It's about the grandfather who has to say no when his grandchildren ask to go on vacation. It's about the retiree choosing between medication and heating during the winter. It's about the quiet fear that many people feel when they realize they might never truly stop working. And the most painful part is time. Time is the one asset that can never be recovered. Someone who invests $500 a month starting at age 25 could end up with over $1 million by retirement. But if that same person waits until 45 to start, they might need to invest nearly $3,000 a month to reach the same goal. Waiting becomes incredibly expensive. Every year of delay makes the mountain steeper. That realization can feel overwhelming, but it also leads to an important truth. Retirement isn't defined by age, it's defined by numbers. And those numbers can change depending on your strategy. Financial planners often talk about something called the 4% rule. The idea is simple. If you withdraw about 4% of your retirement savings each year, your money has a good chance of lasting for decades. That means if someone wants $40,000 per year in retirement income, they would need about $1 million saved. For many people, that number sounds impossible. But that's when strategy matters. Governments have even introduced special catch-up contributions for older workers, allowing them to invest much larger amounts into retirement accounts during their final working years. There's also another powerful tool many people overlook: Social Security. Many workers claim their benefits as early as possible, usually at age 62. But every year you delay claiming benefits increases your monthly payment. In some cases, delaying retirement can increase your benefit by around 8% per year. That's one of the few guaranteed returns that still exists. The real lesson is this: hope is not a financial plan. Retirement security requires intention, discipline, and consistency. Because the world we live in constantly encourages spending. Every advertisement, every notification, every buy now button is designed to take money from your future and move it into someone else's pocket. Escaping that system requires something rare: the willingness to be boring. Boring budgets, boring investing, boring consistency. But on the other side of that boredom lies something powerful: freedom. The freedom to wake up in the morning and decide how to spend your time. The freedom to help your family without fear. The freedom to live your later years with dignity instead of anxiety. You've seen the numbers. You know where the median stands. Now the only question left is this: which side of that line will you stand on? You can ignore the warning signs, or you can start building a future that actually works. If you want to understand the strategies smart investors use to stay ahead while others fall behind, imagine two different people. The first person spends 40 years chasing a lifestyle: bigger house, newer car, more vacations. Every raise turns into a new expense. From the outside, their life looks impressive. But behind the scenes, their financial foundation is fragile. When retirement finally arrives, the numbers don't work anymore. So they keep working. Maybe part-time at first, then longer hours. Then a job they never imagined doing at 70 years old, not because they want to, but because they have to. Now imagine the second person. Their life looks almost boring compared to everyone else. They drive the same car for years. They ignore trends. They invest quietly month after month. No headlines. No flashy lifestyle. But something powerful is happening in the background. Compound interest. Money slowly turning into more money. Year after year. Decade after decade. At first it feels invisible. Like nothing is changing. But then something remarkable happens. The curve begins to rise. The small investments from years ago suddenly start growing faster than the new money being added. Eventually the system flips. Your money begins working harder than you do. And that moment is when true financial freedom starts to appear. This is the secret most people never fully understand. Retirement isn't built in the final years of your career. It's built in the quiet decisions nobody sees. The automatic transfers, the boring investments, the moments when you choose long-term security over short-term comfort. And the truth is, the earlier those decisions begin, the easier everything becomes. But even if someone is starting late, the principle remains the same. Clarity changes behavior. Once you truly understand the numbers, it becomes impossible to ignore them. You stop seeing retirement as something far away. You start seeing it as a system that must be built step by step. Because in the end, retirement is not about luxury. It's about control. Control over your time. Control over your energy. Control over the way you live the final decades of your life. And that control is one of the rarest forms of wealth in the modern world. So the real question isn't whether retirement is possible. The real question is whether you are willing to build it intentionally. Because 20 years from now, another Monday morning will arrive. You will wake up. You will walk into your kitchen. You will look out that same window. And the number waiting on your phone will tell the story of every financial decision you made along the way. The only thing left to decide is what that number will say.